Welcome to another installment of Strange Planet, and on this episode, I'm taking you deep into the shadows, into a world of secret oaths, psychic control, and invisible rulers who may be shaping our reality from behind the curtain. My guest is Samuel Chong, translator, researcher, fearless explorer of forbidden knowledge. He's the man who brought the Thiaoouba Prophecy to English readers, a book that opened millions of eyes to extraterrestrial intervention and humanity's spiritual awakening. But on this episode, he's back with something even darker. We're talking about 334% Lies, the revelation of H.M.V. Stuhl, the shocking autobiography of a vanished Illuminati Grand Master who broke his oath of silence and exposed how the world really works. According to The Insider, there are roughly 20 individuals who control the fate of global politics and economics, none of them public figures, none of them ever named. Every politician and their opponent on the same payroll. Terrorists, revolutionaries, corporate titans, all pawns in a global game of divide and rule. The Grand Master claims the Lodge uses psychic techniques, hypnosis, remote perception, even body possession to manipulate events and people. Members climb the ranks through defeat, and the unreliable are swiftly removed. Those who truly rule, he says, always remain in the shadows. And then there's the Illuminati card game, released back in 1994, somehow predicting 9/11, the COVID pandemic, political unrest, and more. Coincidence? Or was it predictive programming, a quiet confession of what was already planned? Samuel's here to unpack these hidden operations, the meaning behind those eerie cards, and why the information was buried before 9/11, right after the Grand Master himself disappeared. So, buckle up, because if 334% Lies is real, it means the world we see is a stage, and the real directors have never taken a bow. Stay tuned. Samuel Chong doesn't just translate secrets, he exposes the script. Samuel, welcome back to Strange Planet. How are you?
Good, very good. Thank you, Richard.
I want to start with the actual title, this confession, if we can call it, from H.M.V. Stuhl. It's kind of a coded or encrypted title. It's not 334% Lies. Well, you explain. What's the actual title? What does it mean?
The actual title is 334 per thousand lies. If you do the calculation, if you use 1 minus 334 per thousand, you're going to get 666 per thousand. The truth of 666, the devil. This book actually reveals the opposite pole of the other book that I promoted, Thiaoouba Prophecy. This book, 334 per thousand lies, reveals the dark side of the world that we're living in right now.
All right. And what do we know about this H.M.V. Stuhl, who the Grand Master, supposedly, who wrote this book and then vanished? What else can you tell us about him?
Well, we know very little about him because I was not able to meet him in person. He passed away, or he just appeared in the summer of 2001, just a few months before 9/11 happened. I was able to get in touch with the copyright holder, a very nice person in Germany. He told me something about him which is nothing out of the ordinary. He did not know that he or the author possessed psychic abilities. And also, there's a quite interesting story in which I believe that even the copyright holder didn't realize who he was in touch with at that time.
Right. And to what organization? I mentioned the Illuminati, but is it really the Illuminati we're talking about here?
Well, the book really doesn't mention anything about the Illuminati. I originally made the connection because there is some coded language in the book that appeared on a website called the IlluminatiOrder.info, and that website is no longer accessible. However, according to the copyright holder, the secret society or the lodge that the author wrote about is not the Illuminati, but it is more dangerous than the Illuminati.
Yes, I mean, we tend to use the term Illuminati now just as kind of a catch-all phrase or a catch-all term to describe any sort of secret, powerful cabal, if you will. So it's not technically the Illuminati, but as you say, something far more sinister, perhaps. And there are about 20 people that HMV Stuhl says are secretly controlling global politics and finance. Tell me about these 20. I mean, how do they remain invisible in this age of total surveillance?
They all have very strong psychic abilities. They remain in the dark side. They don't publicize themselves at all. We don't know who they are. It could be like someone just on the street or just watching some other people or a background street that it appears to be like a background street, but it's not. And also, I have a second-hand experience of someone in Hong Kong who transferred $5 billion into my friend's bank account using his passport. He opened a bank account using my friend's passport and then deposited $5 billion into my friend's bank account just to show my friend that they had the ability to really transfer that large amount of money, and they were able to really manipulate and also to kind of control the money flow of the banking system. And this is a very strange experience that my friend encountered. I had a lot of questions about that. My friend didn't really believe that, but I, according to this book, believe that it could happen actually.
So these shadowy figures, 20 of them that control the world's finance and politics, you say they have psychic ability. Where did they get that from?
Through practice. They don't get involved into the day-to-day politics or any of the things that politicians do. They have to keep a large amount of time to themselves in order to meditate and also to elevate their psychic abilities. They control other people directly or indirectly through some of the abilities that they have. So this is a very interesting side of the story that most people probably don't understand.
So in the book, he describes how these individuals can possess other people's bodies and even implant false memories afterward. Is that true?
Yes, I actually know a few people who can do that after practice here in Los Angeles. There's one lady who says that she's able to really go inside of the other person's body and to see what the other person sees and hears and also feels. And then, but she's not able to control the person's mind or anything like that. But according to this book, the high degree member of the Illuminati or the secret society, they're able to really go inside of a person's body or the astral body and to really see and also to control the decision-making process of that person.
It almost sounds demonic.
It does.
And obviously they're using this power for nefarious purposes, right? They don't have our best interests at heart.
Well, in the very beginning and before the high degree master experienced the near-death experience, or in the NDE, the organization, the secret society of the lodge, was kind of dividing the world by creating conflicts, making profits for themselves and controlling the people in the world. But then after the chair had this near-death experience, he realized that everything is about love and connections and collective consciousness, and he realized that it's better to coexist with the rest of the world.
How long have these individuals been around? Are there bloodlines? Are they the descendants of other powerful individuals as well? I mean, tell me a little bit more about how long they've been here.
Little is written about the history of the lodge, according to this book. However, they were the people who had knowledge from the ancient past. They say that they have different libraries that contain the knowledge from, for example, ancient civilizations. That's why they were able to really go into the past and see the probabilities of the future. So they have special knowledge and techniques in order to do certain things that we believe are to be magic.
And the book also describes a world where politicians and their opponents are on the same payroll. I mean, so are our elections and wars simply theater designed to keep us fighting while the same people rule behind the scenes?
I believe this is the case, actually. If you really look at another book written by Dr. John Coleman titled The Committee of 300, you're going to see that the descendants of the shareholders of the British East India Company, they formed kind of like an organization or different organizations to really decide on who get elected. For example, it actually named quite a few, the Trilateral Council and the Council of Foreign Affairs.
Foreign relations, right.
Foreign relations, yes.
So again, the author of 334% Lies, he published this book in German in 2000, and then he vanished, I guess, just months before 9/11. Do you think his disappearance and the attacks of 9/11 were connected?
I believed so, because in the book it talked about the figure that's similar to the figure of Antichrist. After the NDE experience that the author had, he was trying to make the organization more benign and really decrease the conflicts in the world. However, he saw a younger person who had more psychic abilities than him, trying to overpower him and overtake him. And he had a hard time keeping the younger person in place because he had fewer and fewer allies. And then he wrote this book trying to expose everything secret about the lodge. I think it has something to do with that. This is just my personal speculation. There's no proof at all.
One might argue, if this group of 20 are so powerful, why would they have allowed this book to be published in the first place?
Well, the publication of the book has a very interesting story. The author of the book, which is the chair of the lodge, he wrote the book and then he gave it to a person who knew nothing about the organization, nothing about the lodge. Because if you read the book, you're going to see that he is able to see the auras of everyone. So he is able to scan and then to see who is the best person to do this. And then he chose that the current copyright holder. And then the copyright holder originally didn't really want to have the book published because it contains a lot of disturbing descriptions. He said, if you want to have it published, why don't you do it? And then the author said, oh, I'm not going to do it. I think you can just make the book available. You don't have to necessarily have it widely read. Just make it available in case people want to read it. This is how the copyright holder was induced to having the book published, self-published in Germany in the very beginning.
And since it wasn't widely available, how did you find out about it?
You know, after reading the other book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, I became very interested in being able to read people's auras or the human energy fields. I was searching online and looking for books on that subject, and I found so many books, but none of them really made a lot of sense until I read a post in a forum. It says that this book talks about how you can develop the ability to see the auras. But the book is written in German language. I was very curious because everything described in the post matched what I was thinking that I could develop someone's ability to see the auras. So I got the e-version of the book in German language. And I don't speak any German myself. I had to translate that in order to be able to read it myself. So I used the machine translation. Being a translator myself, I'm able to use the right tool to translate the book more effectively using a machine translation tool than otherwise. So I did that. And then the more I read into the book, the more I discovered that there's much more into the book, that more people need to realize that there are a lot of secrets need to be revealed and need to be understood and realized. So I decided to have the book published. I thought if the German publisher had this book available in German language, I may just want to contact the copyright holder. So I did. A few weeks later, I got a response to my surprise. And then they said, that's a very good idea. And I gave them the translated version in English. And then they made minor corrections or adjustments, and then got it published on Amazon in English language.
Did you do so at any personal risk? Were you fearful at all that you were going to publish this book that reveals a lot of dangerous secrets?
I had a lot of fear in the very beginning, to be honest, because everything in the book is so dark and so evil, at least in the first probably 9/10 of the book. And it reveals a lot of the tortures that they did during the initiation rituals. And also, it kind of says that if someone tries to expose the lodge, the person will be killed. If someone reveals the names of the members of the lodge, he is definitely going to disappear for sure. So for a long time, the copyright holder had been inviting me to Germany to meet him in person, and I kind of wanted to push it out because I was afraid I was going to become the pizza delivery boy, as described in the book, who got lured into delivering pizza for them, and then got drugged, and then was tortured to death. Actually, it's a very cruel torture that they had. I was very afraid of that in the very beginning, and then.
Oh, sorry. Let me just interrupt here. There's a lot of stuff to unpack here. Who was this pizza delivery man? He got lured into delivering pizzas for the lodge.
Yes.
Why did they lure him into delivering pizzas of all things, and then why did they ultimately torture him to death?
Well, this is actually part of the initiation ceremony, or kind of a process that they had to create kind of confidence on the person being initiated. So what they did was that they had a lady to make a phone call to have a pizza shop to deliver pizza to them, and they gave a wrong address. And then they, at the last minute, they said, "Oh, I made a mistake. This is not the right address. I'll give you the correct address." And then so they did that. And then the pizza delivery boy delivered the pizza to them. And then he was led to the basement of the lodge, of that location. And then he had a drink, and the drink was had drugs in it. And he lost his consciousness. And then they tied him up, and they started torturing him. And they actually wanted the person being initiated to torture him, meaning the author was to do the job.
Wait, sorry. I just want to make sure I understand this. So the initiate who was going to join the lodge, he had to prove himself by torturing this poor victim.
Yes.
Got it.
But he wasn't told in the very beginning. He wasn't told that this is going to be the process. He didn't know what was going to happen. And then right after they tied the pizza delivery boy up, they told the author, "You are to torture him to death." And then throughout the process, they gave him orders, and he actually followed them. It's quite gruesome, actually.
So the author of 334% Lies, the book you translated, HMV Stool, is in fact a murderer?
Yes. He actually murdered not just one person, but quite a few in the book,
Okay.
according to...
So you don't have to be born into this lodge. It has nothing to do with bloodlines. You can be initiated into the lodge. I mean, how do they choose who gets? I mean, I know you have to pass the initiation, but who is applying to become a member of this lodge?
People don't apply to become a member of the lodge. They were chosen. If you read into the book, you're going to see that they're able to scan people by looking at their auras and see who has this kind of potential to be able to develop these psychic abilities. So the author was just a regular German college student when he was kind of paid attention to by members of the lodge. And then they had a young college girl to really kind of seduce him and to or invite him to the lodge. And then he just, because he liked the girl very much, he did. And then that one thing led to another. He became a member of the lodge. That's kind of like a very cliche story, but people don't apply to become members of the lodge. They were chosen.
They're chosen. All right. And you mentioned earlier John Coleman, and I'm familiar with him, and I'm familiar with the Committee of 300. So the Committee of 300, do they report to the 20?
Well, the 20 people influenced the Committee of the 300. This is my personal speculation. I don't have any proof at all. Just think that they run everything behind the scenes, and there are different layers of control and manipulation. And they do have the ability to create certain events, whether man-caused events or natural events that occur on Earth.
And who do the 20 answer to? I mean, who's at the top of this power structure? I mean, is it, I don't know, Satan?
Well, a lot of people speculate it's the reptilians. So according to this book, it's not the reptilians. Is the free will of the 20. And there is a great master of the lodge, and he has more power than the rest. However, there is a kind of like a democratic process or debate process in which major decisions are made. Each person has to persuade the others in order for his idea to be determined and to go forward. So this is a very interesting idea. I think for people who want to believe that there is ETs or reptilians controlling the 20 or the Illuminati, they should really look at another Dutch banker's interviews, Ronald Bernard. He actually personally witnessed the psychic abilities of the members of the Illuminati healing a person using psychic powers.
All right. And these 20, along with the Committee of 300, do you believe they are orchestrating most of the major events in the world? For example, 9/11, which we mentioned, other wars, terrorist attacks?
I think they do that indirectly. They influence some of the people in the deep state, and then to organize and to initiate such events, unfortunate events. And I think we need to realize that certain knowledge of the ancient past was passed down to members of the lodge. So they're able to really use a lot of mind control abilities to do certain things. And remember, mind control is not just using psychic abilities. It also includes social engineering, just to make people feel comfortable in doing certain things. And they don't necessarily have to break the law. They can lay down certain kind of principles to the person being controlled or social engineered, and then the person would just follow the instructions without breaking out the laws, but to create benefits to the lodge.
So the author, H.M.V. Stuhl, obviously German. The book was written in German. Is it, I mean, and we have, of course, the Illuminati. They began in Bavaria in Germany back in the 18th century. Is it a fair assumption that this lodge as well is in Germany? Do we know?
Yes, definitely. The lodge was founded in Germany as well, and the lodge also had international branches. One of the branches is headquartered in New York City, as described in the book. The book really doesn't mention a lot of the details. It doesn't name names. It doesn't name locations. But from the descriptions of the book, the initiated will know that everything written in the book is true.
And what's the ultimate purpose here? Sowing division, causing wars, controlling politicians. I mean, there's only so much money you can possess. I mean, what is their ultimate end game?
According to the chair of the lodge, the ultimate game is to control mankind, is to have control and influence, and to really be at the top of the food chain, the top of the pyramid. They create a great satisfaction being in control of everything. And I think this is the ultimate end game for the lodge.
All right. I want to talk now about this Illuminati card game. It was released, I guess, about 30 years ago. And these cards, I don't know if they're like tarot cards. You can explain how they work, but they apparently predicted 9/11. They've predicted pandemics, riots. I mean, how could a game designer possibly foresee that? Are these, I don't know, cards, are they leaked from insiders, or are they deliberate warnings to the initiated? Tell me about this card game.
This card game is for players to win each other using different events or scenarios as presented in each of the cards. And you can read about it online and see how to play the game. I never learned about the rules. I never learned how the game was created. However, I want to emphasize that there are people who can see or tell the probabilities of the future events, and they can create future events as well by using their mind. There have been a lot of studies on that too. They can kind of magnify or amplify certain vibrational frequencies that can result in certain events that will happen in the future. So I think there are a lot of knowledge or facts that people don't necessarily understand. That we can actually see the past as the members of the secret lodge can do, and they can actually see potential probabilities of the future. It's actually described in the book. The author actually meditated, and then in his mind, the future events line up, and then he would be able to use his mind to change certain events, and that would cause chain reactions for the future events to happen. And then he played the game kind of like different branches of certain events and the result of the certain events that happen. And then he would manipulate, what if this doesn't happen? What if that happens? And then different consequences would happen. And he would use his mind to create this kind of future scenario.
So just so I'm clear here, who's playing this game? Are these cards, are they some kind of tool of divination, or can, by simply playing certain cards in the Illuminati card game, you can cause events to happen? Or can you clarify?
No, this is just a regular card game for entertainment. It just happened that the pictures in the cards describe events that happened in the future, that really happened after the card game was released. So I'm just trying to illustrate that there are ways to make certain events happen in the future.
All right. And I understand that the lodge also reportedly uses special stones to see visions of the future, a kind of occult technology. Tell me about these stones.
Well, it's not really specifically described in the book exactly what the stone looks like. It's a stone passed down from the former chair of the lodge to the author, and then when he looked at the plate, events of the future appear to him just like holographic images, and then he is able to see what future looks like. This is very interesting because if you know about how Nostradamus predicted the future, you're going to know there's one detail. He really looked at a ball of water. He stared at the ball of water, and then images of future events appeared in his mind. So I think this stone plate or this kind of plate might serve that purpose.
It almost sounds like a remote viewing program.
Yes, it sounds like it. And I do realize that the 20 people may take advantage of what they see in the future and to influence the people, the players in the future for the future events.
So it sounds like you're saying that the 20 can foresee future events, and they can also manipulate timelines simply with their minds. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, it is exactly what's happening.
So does that mean the entire global stage, if you will, is being manipulated? All of our events are being manipulated? Nothing is as it appears to be?
For major events, yes. Some of the events that don't add up, for example, if you really look at 9/11, structurally, if the planes hit the building made of steel, how could it fall like a controlled demolition? I mean, it just doesn't really make sense. People need to think about this. And it's also very interesting that the timing of the book was written in Germany, was kind of coincidental. And he really wanted to expose the secrets of the lodge, the knowledge that the members possess, in order for people to wake up. Because there's one thing that the members of the lodge fear, which is the collective consciousness of the mass. Because no matter how strong their psychic abilities are, I mean, they are afraid of the unleash of the determination of the mass. And so this is the reason he wrote a book, just for people to realize that they need to be careful and to realize that to use discernment when certain strange things happen. For example, if one of your relatives disappeared, and then you're told that she just had an affair and went with another person, you need to think twice about it, because there are a lot of people who disappear like that. They're actually lured into the lodge and get tortured and killed. And people, when they hear kind of reasonable explanations, they don't think twice. And this book warns people, you need to really do your own research and work and think twice about certain events that don't add up.
I think the quote from the Grand Master in the book was, the lodge fears a million outraged people united in thought. I mean, is that the reason these global elites seem to work so hard to divide us, to keep that collective consciousness from ever forming?
Exactly. Their motto is divide and conquer, divide and rule. If we don't unite, then they're going to remain in power to control us more easily if we are being divided. So they're afraid of the truth coming out, and they're afraid of peace, actually.
And you've said before, humanity is trapped in a materialist prison. So is this lodge, these secret societies, are they deliberately keeping us spiritually unevolved, to prevent us from reaching that, I think you called it the last time we spoke, category 9 level of civilization?
In a sense, yes. In the book, the author kind of says he is really condescending. His tone was really condescending. Saying, you lazy people, you just watch TV, you don't think twice, you don't really think about more important things like developing your spirituality, your psychic abilities. And if you read the book, you can see the arrogant attitude of the author towards people who just are to him like lazy. They are, but they just don't really they're not diligent enough to really look into certain things and the potential of humans.
So in your view, is the lodge or the Illuminati or whatever we want to call it, is it a single organized entity, or has its overall ideology simply infected governments and corporations, think tanks worldwide?
There are different layers of control, and there are different secret societies. And in the preface of the book, the author made it very clear that he is not talking about the societies that people always see, like the Masonic Lodge and the names that we always hear. And he is also not talking about the other lodges in which the chair or the presidents of the lodges tend to accumulate wealth and to become famous and to control the members of the lodge. And he is also not talking about the other lodges who do no harm to the rest of us. Specifically, he is talking about this specific lodge that controls the different people at play behind the scenes and then manipulating world events. So this lodge that he's talking about is extremely dangerous, and it is not the Masonic Lodge or the other lodges people normally think about it.
Right. If the author, H.M.V. Stool, wrote this, probably was fully aware that he was going to be disappeared or perhaps even killed, why didn't he just name names?
Well, it says there's one thing. There are two reasons. One is that naming names will put himself in danger because there's a hidden rule. There's a rule for the secret societies that if you name names, you're definitely going to be killed for sure. And Roland Bernard actually talks about this, and he really doesn't name names either. And the second more important reason is that there's no use if you name names. If you search online, if you search on the search engines, you are not going to find anything. Trust me, you're not going to find anything on the people that are named. I actually tried it.
So in other words, these names wouldn't mean anything to us anyway. These are not people that we would know.
That's correct.
Right.
And actually, I tried it. I asked the copyright holder just to give me the name of the author and the German name, and he did. And I did a lot of searches. I searched on Google, I searched on Bing, Yahoo, ChatGPT, and the Chinese search engines, the Russian search engines. I couldn't find anything on that person.
Meaning H.M.V. Stool.
No, that's a pseudonym. He
Right.
gave me the real name of that person.
Ah, he gave you the real name, and still nothing. You mentioned Bernhard. This is the Dutch banker, did you say?
The former Dutch banker who used to work for the members of the Illuminati, Ronald Bernard.
Ah, okay. And has he been disappeared as well?
No, he is still alive, and he didn't really name names. He described the rituals that they performed, torturing adults and children. He also described how they operate globally a financial scheme through the International Bank of Settlements, and also controlling those central banks in the world, how they money laundering and supply money to the central banks.
Is this lodge also involved in child sex trafficking?
This book doesn't really specifically mention about that. However, it does mention about how they torture innocent people who have no knowledge about their activities at all. It does go at length and how they torture the people, not just physically, but also psychologically, how they make people disappear and how they absorb the electrons of the other people that they torture.
So what would you say is the single biggest way the lodge divides us today? Is it politics? Is it race? Technology? Fear? What?
Through support to different organizations that oppose each other. For example, they supported the KKK. At the same time, they also supported anti-racism. They supported one party, and they also supported the opponent of the other part at that party. So they always play both sides at the same time. It's just similar to the protocols of the elders of Zion. That book. They use the media. They use politicians. They use the education system. They also use mafias as well to play off against each other.
So it doesn't seem like we can save ourselves through the ballot box. In other words, we elect a new leader or a new politician, a new representative. That person too will be ultimately controlled by the lodge, correct? You can't fight the lodge, in other words.
In the past, yes. However, a strong leader, someone who has a very strong will not be influenced by members of the lodge. In the book, it talks about the politicians who are not strong-willed, who want to get more fame and money. Those people can be affected or influenced by members of the lodge, but not a strong-willed politician whose only purpose is to serve for the good of the people. So if people have bright eyes and are knowledgeable about who is really serving the interests of the people, then they can still elect the right politician. However, we are not able to arrest members of the lodge because they have the psychic abilities to project illusions to the law enforcement people and then escape. So there's no use to use law enforcement against the lodge.
Are they immortal? I mean, do they get sick and die like the rest of us, or are they involved in, I don't know, transhumanism and some sort of immortality?
It really depends on what they do. The high degree masters, if they choose to, they can become immortal. However, they do not choose to be so because there are better places to be at than Earth. So this is very similar to the stories told by my friend who got deposited $5 billion US into his bank account. He says that according to the person who deposited that amount of money, there are people in China who live 200, 300, 400 years old. And then they kind of decide who the politicians are. And so this is a very interesting story. I don't know what people think about it, but I think there's certain truth in it.
I want to talk about predictive programming. Do you think movies and video games and memes are used the same way as the Illuminati card game, for example? In other words, to plant ideas in our subconscious before they happen?
I agree. I believe so. And if you really think about it, all the motivational speakers, all the like Tony Robbins and also all the other people all talk about the subconscious mind. And what they do is they activate your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is extremely powerful, and they can really manifest actual events that will happen in the future. So through the programming, if you are not careful, if you put your subconscious mind into their directives or their narratives, you're going to be controlled by them at the subconscious level. And this also explains why when I listen to the songs of the Muslims, the Islamic people, they're so kind of interesting and also very addictive as well, because they activate your subconscious mind using a certain wavelengths of sound and music.
So what is the suggestion there, that the lodge perhaps has infiltrated Islam and is using their music to influence the subconscious mind?
Not necessarily. It's just saying that there are certain ways to influence the subconscious mind through music. For example, the Islamic music is really they sound very very nice and sometimes very addictive. So that's one way to do that. And there are also like music that we hear. If they implant certain hidden messages in the music, and if those messages go into our subconscious mind, then we are indirectly controlled by those messages.
Right, subliminal messaging.
Yes.
So getting back to this idea of a mass awakening, do you think a mass awakening or simply refusing to play along is how we're going to eventually break their control?
I think knowledge is the key. Knowledge is power. I think people need to realize what is going on and then realize what they're afraid of and then become united and not to be really deluded by certain events that cause divisions in the world. For example, if you really think about it, all the wars were really created by the interest groups that want to make money out of the weapons. If the Russians really want to, like if you see the Chinese and the Japanese, they had a lot of wars in the past. But if you really think about what really happened in the past, it's not that simple.
Yeah, but for now, it just seems like we're living inside this endless feedback loop of manufactured chaos.
Yeah, especially the event of AI, and also people delve into the modern technologies and relying on the messages sent to us by the AIs or computer or search engines. I think people will gradually lose the ability to think independently and to realize human potential. One of the best ways to really unleash your human potential, your psychic abilities, is actually through meditation, is to get yourself into a state in which you let go of everything. And then sooner or later, you're going to see everything that happens.
Just getting back to AI, you mentioned artificial intelligence. So is that just another arm of this secret system? Or is it something maybe even the elites won't be able to control?
This is something that I think could pose a danger in the future of humanity, because the key is whether you're able to use it to your advantage to develop your human potentials, or just to be lazy and to really rely on everything that the AI feeds you with. It can be misused by members of the lodge or the politicians to lead the population into a dangerous direction. However, we can also use AI to develop our spirituality as well. And I think it's a double-edged sword.
How can we use AI to develop our spirituality?
For example, a friend of mine is actually using AI to develop an aura camera. By training AI to really develop this kind of algorithm to analyze the pictures, photos, and then to make the colors of the human energy fields appear through the algorithm developed by the AI, incorporating the colors that seen by people who have such abilities. So they feed AI with the colors seen by our readers, and then using AI to develop its algorithm, so that when you put in another picture, and then through the algorithm, the colors of the auras will appear on the picture.
If you could see the aura of one of the 20, what would it reveal? That this person is evil?
It would reveal that this person has strong psychic abilities, and it would reveal that this person is very complicated, and reveal the evil side of that person. If you read into the book, there's a very interesting description. When the author developed his ability to see auras, he was extremely happy and also feel omnipotent, because he can foretell different diseases. He can tell whether a person is a very simple-minded person, or if the person is a very complicated person, or if a person has psychic potentials. However, on the other hand, if the 20 people knew that you're going to see their auras, they can change their auras by using certain sounds. And this is actually described in the book, which I find credible and interesting, because immediately after he was able to see people's auras, he became afraid of others being able to see his auras. So, and then he discovered that using certain sounds, he can change his own auras. So when he knew that someone was going to see his auras, he intentionally changed his auras.
So what would you say is the one thing we can do right now to stop being pawns on this grand chessboard? How do we escape this matrix?
No, I think people need to think more independently and to realize what is the most important thing in life, which is to develop one's spirituality and psychic abilities for the benefit of humanity. So I would encourage people to look into the books that teach them how to meditate and how to develop intuitive abilities or to see the past and the future. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend people to read this book, though, because this book is highly disturbing, has a lot of descriptions on how they torture people. It's really kind of disgusting. A lot of the descriptions are kind of...
So that's fascinating. You translated the book, but you're not encouraging people to read it.
That's right. It's only for the people who are initiated, as says in the book, people who have a strong stomach, who knew that there are strange things that happen in the world that can be explained by certain theories or hypotheses.
So do you want to, for those, I guess, that are willing to read the book, do you want to let people know how they can get a copy?
They can just search on Amazon, 334 Lies, and be careful. And then you can skip the parts that you don't feel comfortable, but you can also do a lot of research on the details that the author described, how he developed his psychic abilities.
Samuel Chong. Thank you so much, Samuel. Very disturbing and enlightening. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard.
A new Richard Syrett's Strange Planet drops every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.